Hey, Ledoux crew. It's Timothy Dillon here, one of your Ledudes, here with Natasha Williams from South Africa, one of my favorite winemakers. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the different regions of South Africa, specifically the Hemelanarda. But when we first met, it was when you were up in Wellington at Bozeman.
Yes.
So you've worked in a bunch of different areas within South Africa, right? The Wellington.
Swartland and then the Yamlin Ard as well.
One of the things that I was really taken with was just the diversity of climates and also terroirs across the entire country. I think there's a bit of a misconception among Americans that, like, South Africa, it's hot, it's one
Yeah.
place, but there really is a lot of diversity there. And, what attracted you to the Hemel specifically compared to some of these other areas that are pretty notable?
I think that's a very good question because, yes, so I think a lot of South African wines come from the majority of our inland wards, like the Swartland, and we do beautiful wines from that area, and that's where a big majority of our varietals grow. But to be honest, I really fell in love with Yemlin Ade, and it was because I was making wine specifically like Chardonnay and Pinot Noir from the Yemlin Ade Valley, which is on the south coast, which is very close to the Atlantic Ocean, so very much cool climate terroir. But it was more the timing when I started working with
Mm.
it. So we had the drought in South Africa, and that was a good 2016 to 2018, 2019. And at that stage, I think as South Africans, we have this energy and just this beautiful resilience about us to always adapt so quickly. So we were always talking about, so what is next? What is happening next? And one of the things that stood out for me is starting to think about different varietals, but growing them in different regions in South
Mm.
Africa. And we are very fortunate in South Africa that we have no limitations in terms of what varietal we have to plant in what area. Now you do see that the winemakers start zoning in a bit more about knowing that, okay, for example, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir does exceptionally well in this region, Chenin Blanc exceptionally well in that region for whatever reason. So we're looking more into that. But I think for us, it was starting to think about climate is changing, things are changing, and how are we going to adapt to that? And that's how I initially moved and started making Syrah from Yaml and Ardor Valley, which is not necessarily the first appellation you would think of when you think about Syrah in South
No, no,
Africa.
certainly not. I mean, Chardonnay makes sense in such a
Yeah.
cool climate there, but Syrah is definitely a little riskier, but
Yes.
obviously, a triumph in terms of what you've been able to accomplish. Are there any other things in the future you think you may want to work with in these areas?
I definitely think so. In South Africa, we also very exciting is that we have some wineries and even nurseries that are starting to look at some beautiful new varietals that aren't even recognized as grape varietals in South Africa. We have the first Assyrtiko being bottled in South
Oh,
Africa now
wow.
as well. So beautiful new varietals that are coming out. So if I can get my hands on one of them, I'll probably make a good wine from that. Yeah.
I have every faith. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to drink more of your wines.
Thank you.